Welcome to Haunted Stories for Space Camping, where we explore the unexplainable. I'm Felix the Human, and with me is my co-host, Mad Matt, the Mad Professor, the Armchair Extraordinaire. He is the expert, the king of conspiracies, the sultan of suspicion, and I am a casual consumer of the curious. Before we start, make sure you like and subscribe, rate and review, whatever you do. Welcome to another episode of Haunted Stories for Space Camping. As the intro said, I'm Felix the Human. With me is Mad Matt, the Mad Professor.
Hey.
Up top, we're gonna throw out the standard obligatory rate, review, like, subscribe, whatever you're doing on whatever platform. Engage with us. And again, as we're starting to do with each episode, we are not experts in this field. We're just enthusiasts. And today's topic is the moon. It's a big one.
About to be some exporting of some ideas, that's for sure.
Yeah, the moon conspiracy is an old one. You know, obviously, there's nothing new that we're going to be. There is. But the biggest obvious when you think about it, and probably the oldest, is that the moon is made of cheese. That is obviously more of a tongue-in-cheek sort of insult to somebody. I don't think it's ever been taken seriously. I don't know about you, if you know anybody that really believes that one. But
the Swiss cheese-looking holes are pretty convincing, especially in that pale moonlight. That long night of snacking.
Yeah, I learned the green cheese thing, it does not mean the color is green. That's what I learned during my research. And that's about the only thing that stuck with me. So, no, I think the next biggest one is probably the moon landing being faked. And this one I absolutely love because it is kind of like the flat earth theory, where it has evolved over the years. So when we landed on the moon in the 60s, you know, clearly that was a big thing. People didn't think it was possible to the extent to where a lot of people theorized that the moon landing was faked and recorded by, Roman Polanski or one of these,
on a sound studio in Hollywood,
Yeah, and since then, it evolves with each time to where, when we were kids, the moon landing being faked theory was now, we've been to the moon, but we still think the one in the 60s was faked because we hadn't gotten there yet. Then there were other theories of, we actually got to the moon in the 60s, but they couldn't record it, so they hired Polanski to record it so that they had something to show. And
in my life,
keeps evolving with the years.
In my life, I'm going to be, I don't know if you want to call me a Boy Scout or whatever, but in my life growing up, those were all just wild stories. I was such a space cadet. Yeah. I believed in NASA. I believed in all that. I wanted to go to space camp. The right stuff was a historical accounting of what happened as far as I was concerned. And it just a lot of it, that there's a lot of interesting facts that are proposed and makes one wonder. In my own opinion, though, I solidly believe that we went and landed on the moon, and we have been there. There's moon trash. We have stuff up there.
Yeah. Apparently there is tons of moon trash, and I'm not being facetious. I'm being literal.
Yeah.
And people think that's crazy, but you have to understand, we've been theorizing about the moon for so many years. Way back to, some of the earlier, hollow moon theories start with H.G. Wells and the first man in the moon back in,
They're
1901?
So good, yeah.
And,
what's on the inside, man? What is on the inside?
Oh, that's what we're going to get to, right?
Right.
You've had people like Isaac Asimov who did all these studies, and his math
such a great
showed
writer.
that the moon was hollow, although he had done his maths wrong. And scientists from Eckert to the Russian scientists like Sherbakov, who put out into the world that the moon was metal sphere
Right.
and hollow and all
Yep.
that, and potentially created by somebody. And that was a whole convoluted plot with the atheist Russians trying to poison the Americans into thinking the moon was fake.
Right.
And everything from the moon being a projection in the sky has been thrown out there. I mean, it's wild, all these theories, but the trash thing is a legit fact. There's a ton of trash on the moon, but we've had experiments like the Apollo 12 where they intentionally dropped some of their spacecraft onto the moon, and this is where a lot of the hollow moon theory begins.
From the reverberations.
It was said to have
Right.
reverberated and rang like a bell for up to an hour. And then with Apollo 13, they did the same experiment with a larger chunk of spacecraft.
And
it rang
I'm going to keep
3
us.
hours.
I'm going to keep us grounded. So I'm going to hop right in here for a second, and I'm going to.
Take us away. Take us away.
Yep. And I love the hollow moon fact and theory, not fact. I love the hollow moon theory. I think it's great for the imagination, but a scientific, the most plausible scientific explanation for the reverberations, for the hollow moon explanation, is that the moon is not entirely solid. So beginning with the prevailing theory now in new science, that a large object, planetoid object, struck Earth and slung a lot of debris into our immediate area.
Yeah.
And then that coalesced through gravity into a sphere, but really big chunks. And so now what you have is you have this ball that looks solid on the outside, but is really just very large chunks kind of squished together. So there's these cavernous areas, these veins, these structures that are spidered throughout the moon, because it's not all one piece. There was no inner core. It never had a burning core. It doesn't spin. Right. There's no magnetic sphere to it. I mean,
it makes sense that if it was more dense, it might have a bit more gravity than it does.
Correct.
If something was pulling it together. So a lot of the theories that are being bounced around now honestly make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about it, but we're not here.
There's still a lot of questions, my friend.
With science, we're here to explore the other side. Yeah. And me personally, I think it's an alien spaceship plant.
Do you?
No,
I'm telling you what.
Man, that would be so cool.
It would be so cool. But I don't want to lead people down the wrong path either. Some of the scientific things that we still may touch on are still out of this world. Unbelievable.
Is that a joke? Did you make a joke?
They're literally, but they're so coincidental. The math has to be so perfect. It makes one really think, what is going on around here?
Well, that's part of what causes these conspiracy theories, like the fact that we are the only planet in the solar system that we know of, and probably much further than that, that has this perfect relationship with
their moon. And it's a symbiotic relationship.
It is very symbiotic. It does control a lot of the push and pull on Earth, but also with solar eclipses where they can almost perfectly align.
No, my friend. It is perfect. There is no other setup that we know of that we can observe.
I only say almost because not every solar eclipse is created equally, and they truly perfect aligned ones don't happen as frequently as some of the other solar eclipses.
Well, that just has to do with orbits and ellipses and things like that.
Right. So it's
but as far as size and distance is concerned, you have to say that is just wow.
A wonder.
Wow.
Truly a wonder.
Truly a wonder.
But it's those types of coincidences that feed the theories. And when you stack that up with, I'm not going to say bad science, because I don't believe any science that's asking the right questions is bad science, but science that didn't lead us to the right answers through all these years, and then other scientists that go based off some more wild conjecture, like Surabikov and people of those ilk.
Right.
It just muddies the water.
Yes, it doesn't make anything any clearer for anyone.
Yeah, and then you have NASA. Never a straight answer.
Oh my gosh. And I said at the beginning of this, I was quite the space cadet, but you look back on some of their decisions and it just makes you wonder yet again. But then we have some accredited firsthand accounts from astronauts. One astronaut that's still alive.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of him. He's going to live forever.
And many astronauts have talked about weird experiences. Obviously, it's very commonplace nowadays that astronauts will speak on some of their experiences, and it all comes to a boil, and that's what feeds the conspiracy animal. So let's get into a little bit more detail into some of these conspiracies and really take it one by one. The cheese one aside, that was a joke. But the faked moon landing. So some of the problems with this, everybody points to how are the cameras there while they are...
The flag, the shadows.
Why is the flag moving? Yeah, it's...
The shadows are not right for the angle of the sun. It had to have been done on a soundstage.
I think a lot of those answers have been easily explained over the years, whether people choose to listen or not.
But wait a minute. What about? Have you seen the window insert video? Have you?
Oh no, I haven't seen that one.
So I would have to. It just flashed back in my mind. It was one of the astronauts. I don't think it was Buzz, but he was doing an interview and he was telling them that. So NASA had them put this thing in the window of the spacecraft that made it look like the moon, but it really wasn't the moon, so it would seem like they were in a position that they weren't in. And it was one of those strange things. No one was real sure why they did it. But they accidentally caught one of the astronauts putting the apparatus on the window so they could take the picture. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Not doing them any favors.
No, at all, none.
But through all these crazy experiences, I've never once heard anybody involved say, "Hey, gotcha, it was all faked." Everybody. And these are very credible individuals who, even before being astronauts, the early ones, a lot of them were military. A lot of them were space pilots.
Yep.
And
Neil Armstrong, Edgar Mitchell, Buzz Aldrin, Alan Bean.
Aggressively good at what they did.
Yes. And they had to be the best. They were the best of the best.
Right. And since time's progressed, where technologies move forward, we're able to send up people who still go through very rigorous training, but they don't have to go through the years of experience of flying a fighter jet or something like that and being able to handle the G's and all that stuff. And, it really... A lot of what I'm interested in now, past the fake moon landing conspiracy, is the hollow moon conspiracy, because that has so many different versions of it.
It's truly the superstructure
Yeah, I mean, it's moon base, it's alien base. You've got Nazis.
It's a Nazi base.
On the moon.
That's one of my favorite. And they're still up there. There's a few really bad movies about it.
Anytime you can bring them into the picture, it is just a barrel of laughs.
Where did they go? And you know what? I just saw this awful
Argentina?
Nice. True statements, kids. Follow your history. I just saw this TikTok that said, you know what? We never knew what Hitler's last name was. And I was like, what? It really hurt my brain.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, Nazis on the moon. But that's another one of those strange facts. The moon doesn't spin, and it takes 30 days to go around the Earth. So part of that time that it's moving around the Earth, you're going to see it when the sun is out, and that just destroys all the flat earthers. They just cannot. They.
You know what? I don't trust anybody whose backside I don't see.
What is back there?
That's just a fact of life that I live by. That's a mantra of mine. I don't trust a person whose back I can't see at any point in time.
I honestly think it's one of the strangest things that doesn't spin. It creeps me out. How does it not spin? Everything there spins.
It's another crazy, perfect push and pull that the yin and yang that we have, like you said, this symbiotic sort of cohabitation between Earth and Moon. That's just mind-blowing, and it's those unexplainables that also lend to these theories. So do you have any more of these crazy conspiracy theories?
I'm gonna do one. You had one, the hollow moon. We kind of touched on, is the moon cheese? Mine's not as out there as the moon is cheese, but let's talk about the pareidolia and the man in the moon.
Oh yeah.
For years, for centuries, paintings, through historical texts. I mean, we're talking all the way back through the beginning of time. People have associated faces, shapes, occurrences.
One of the best black and white movies is the Man in the Moon. It's infiltrated the lexicon of pop culture through the years.
A great chocolate dessert, a little moon pie. I mean, it's yeah.
Even down to the DreamWorks with the little boy fishing, sitting on the crescent moon. I mean, there's hints sprinkled.
Yeah, who was that? Who was that mascot? It was like a moon man, like an '80s moon man. He wore like a tuxedo. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I don't even remember anything about it though.
I can't remember. He wore sunglasses too. He had on a pair of shades. I can't remember what it is. That's going to bug me. Anyway.
Mac Tonight. Is that the one you were talking about?
Is that
McDonald's?
Is that it? Mac Tonight? I'm looking real quick.
It was another crescent moon shape.
Yeah, that's exactly it. From McDonald's. You got it, man. That's wild. But the man on the moon. And sometimes I've looked at the moon. I'm a stargazer. I always look at the sky when I go outside, and I look at the moon all the time. And I'm not going to be like a party pooper or anything. And sometimes I think I can see it, but I've never really seen like that classic, that classic nose and brow and a crescent, or like the wide-faced grin that sometimes people see. I've never really seen that. Pareidolia has never really kicked in for me. How about you?
No, I mean, I don't even look for it. You know what I mean? I'm just out there enjoying things. I'm not trying to pick apart nature's beauty. I'm just trying to enjoy it. So I gotta admit, but that's not the only thing people have ever seen on the moon, though. Also, you've got the man in the moon. You've got the woman on the moon. Whatever. The toad on the moon. People have seen written letters and stuff on the moon. But then a really popular one was the rabbit on the moon.
Oh.
And that is another one that kind of has spread across multiple cultures. It's big in Buddhist religion and Western religions, but it's a super interesting one to me. And unfortunately, I don't know much about it because
Well, that rabbit is huge. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, it is literally gigantic.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert on this. I believe it plays into folklore and possibly other religious tales out of Buddhism. I never went down that rabbit hole per se to do more research on it. I just know of the existence.
Well,
it's interesting how we have those connections all over separately. You know what I mean?
Like the same story, just a little different. No matter where you look, it's kind of like the same thing. You're absolutely right. But there are a couple there. I want to cover a couple more of my favorite moon conspiracies. What's going on? Big ones in the amateur telescope world. Are the lights on the moon. They've been recorded multiple times. You can go out onto YouTube, a simple search on Google, YouTube lights on the moon.
I don't trust a lot of conspiracies that revolve around lights because lighting's a tricky thing, especially when you're using technology and all of that. Like, it's a very tricky thing to prove or disprove.
But it's one thing when just the amateurs are catching it, but when the major players, when the big astronomy schools and NASA are also catching the same phenomena. And then NASA has put out press releases. They cannot identify the source of these lights. They have theories, some sort of compressed gas or refraction or stuff in the soil.
Well, hey, do you expect the man on the moon not to check emails or hop on Netflix? Like, he's got to have something
going on up there.
So back off. So he wants to have his reading light on.
Okay, fine. You know what? We'll go. We'll stop talking about lights. Another one of my favorite ones is the wave. Have you heard of the wave?
Oh, I have not. But that sounds very interesting to me.
It is.
Is it like a ocean type wave? Is the man on the moon saying hello? What is the wave?
The wave. We're not real sure what the wave is. We don't know if it's Earth-born. We don't know if it's moon-born. We don't know if it's stellar-born. But it's
just tell me this: is it like energy? Is it physical, or is it audible?
It's visual.
Visual, okay.
And so what happens is there appears to be a visual ripple in the representation of the moon. And this is recorded on video.
Ooh.
So if you go out and you type in wave on the moon, you can see that, again, that professionals and amateurs have caught this ripple, this wave that moves from one side to the moon to the other.
It's either that or the Cleveland Guardians fans are celebrating a home run.
There's something, but it's just one of those
standing up and throwing their arms up.
One gigantic wave, I'm telling you. But it's crazy when you see it. It's weird. It's a bit unsettling, really, because you're like, well, what is that? What could that be? And there's not a lot of explanation.
How is that?
Yeah, exactly. How is that?
That's one I'd never heard of, and that's extremely interesting to me. I wouldn't mind diving into some of these a little deeper on a later episode for sure.
Oh, there's tons of them. The stuff that Buzz Aldrin talks about will just knock you off your socks. The structures on the moon, the palaces, the rock and crystalline structures that he just spins yarns about. That there's entire cities and city blocks, and then he's even pointed to photos that NASA has doctored and blacked out. Honestly, they've blacked out the negatives, and now the negatives are lost. So now we'll never know I mean, but the stuff that they say is up there, and what is on the dark side of the moon? I mean, who knows what they're doing back there?
But yeah, no, it's not just all one person. It's a bunch of guys saying all this stuff about weird things that they've seen, and with NASA just
Guys with credit behind their name.
yeah, and are
Yeah.
they burying it because they don't want to deal with it? Or are they burying the lead because they know what it is and they don't want anybody else to know what it is? What is going on up there? And why is it when
NASA
these
being
things come out,
NASA.
it seems so disorganized? You know, if they were truly trying to hide something, you know, NDAs and all this crap, like
That's part of the op, man.
a lot of places know how to put a lockdown on information getting out, but it seems like NASA's doing a bad job.
The NASA does a terrible job at it. They always have. They let that. We have to do an episode over that guy, that hacker that got into the U.S. naval database, and he got into those records about extraterrestrial crew manifests and captain names and ship names and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been reported encounters with aliens. There's been, you know, all these tense moments that you don't really hear about, mysterious shadows and figures and noises and crafts that have been reported. Whether we really know what's been seen or not, it's just a bunch of weird stuff.
And there-
Weird supposed like messages that are received, and some of them are just like clicks and noises, but
And then
others,
some of them have structure.
yeah.
It's absolutely. I was just looking up here to see if they had anything. I know Apollo 18 is just a movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but there's some. It's an interesting take on what kind of aliens would be up there. Some insectoid.
Oh, nice.
Some insectoid type rock spider creatures.
I don't know about that. There's not enough oxygen up there.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I mean, you know, a silicate-based life form doesn't necessarily have to breathe oxygen.
Nah, yeah, but you start describing insects. Most insects are breathe through an exoskeleton and absorb oxygen through to their bloodstream. But I mean, I guess I can't say what aliens are made out of and how they interact with.
Yeah, how
other
do you know?
environments.
Do you know? I mean, what are you holding out on me? Are you having interviews with an alien and you're not telling me?
I include you in everything, all my comings and goings.
I appreciate
By the way,
that.
bathroom break is sharply at 9 p.m. So,
Gotcha. Well, you know, you can trim this down. We only have a couple more minutes, and we're already at over 30 minutes. So.
oh, okay. Yeah, no.
We're almost there. So if we do like a couple more little facts and wrap it up, we'll have like 32, 33 minutes, and we'll be right at 9 p.m.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
so anyways, a couple quick more little facts about the moon. I don't have any off the top of my head. So if you got any, like, throw them out. We didn't even get into the craters, my man. We didn't even talk about the craters.
Or the moving rocks. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. There's more stuff we could have got into. But yeah.
You know, I thought we'd fit more in, and man, more's coming to me as we're wrapping up the episode. We're gonna have to dive back into this at a later date. And
We might have to do a part two for sure, because I want to brush up on some of that stuff that Buzz Aldrin said about some of those structures and stuff that he said he saw, and I want to dive further into that, and I want to look and see who reported on those pictures that they doctored up. I really want to know But I can remember watching the documentary, so I know it's out there. But I want to get my facts down about it. So we could definitely do. But like you said, there's some craterous anomalies going on the moon, and on top of that, there appears to be rocks that move on their own. Abandoned riverbeds, but they have explanations for that. We won't even go there at this time.
It's still worth noting that at one point in time, those were also conspiracies. So
yeah,
everything,
they said they could see streets on the moon at one time.
Right, and unlike Antarctica, where I feel like there just hasn't been much answers, like we are slowly getting to know our neighbor, the moon, as the years go on, and we're going to be planning more expeditions to the moon. Other countries have planned them this year and last year, so it feels like there's been a refocus.
And in parting, I'm going to leave you with an auditory visual experiment. And I should have started this podcast with it, but it just really kind of gives people some perspective here. So
yeah,
if we're talking about how far is the Earth from the moon and what are their size perspectives. So if you were to take the Earth, and let's say it was a nice size orange, not a small orange, not a gigantic orange, just a nice size orange, regular orange.
Yeah, decent, yeah.
Yep, and then
the palm of your hand.
Yep, and then you were to take a golf ball, and you were to go a mile away. That is an accurate size and distance representation to where our neighbor the moon lives. If the Earth is an orange, in size relation, the moon would be a golf ball, and it would be approximately a mile away from that orange.
And remember, we can only see about 2 miles ahead of us, so that's a pretty good distance away.
That is pretty good distance away. Well, 2020, they say you can go up in 2020 vision. You can see 20 miles out.
I don't have that. I wear glasses.
What do you got?
Does it sound like I wear glasses? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
I don't know. I just go to the doctor and they give me stuff and
All right.
What?
I think
thank you guys for listening to our moon. Man, that was a good talk. Got a lot out.
Went too fast
between the two of us. I know. It was gone in a second. But you know what? We want to hear some of what you guys think about it, some of your opinions on the conspiracy theories. So please feel free to reach out through email at 2dap2020@gmail.com. That is our parent channel home station on YouTube. And as we progress forward, we've released on Amazon podcasts, and we're gonna spread from there to Spotify and Apple and everybody else. I think we're on like Last FM maybe or something like that. But so make sure
we're going to be where you're at.
Subscribe.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to find you. We're going to hunt you down, and we're going to talk about the moon into your face.
We're going to talk you into subbing to us.
So yeah, have fun, guys. Interact with us, like whatever. Help the station do better. I keep calling it a station. We're not on the radio.
No, not a station yet. Maybe one day. I
can't even stop saying it at this point. So
manifest destiny.
See you guys.
Bye.